Hi, my name is Alyssa and I'm the creator behind Pearly White Patterns. In this video series, we're knitting a baby blanket together. We're following a pattern that I have in my shop called the Lauren Baby Blanket. It's this one here. And this pattern has instructions for making 3 different sizes. Now you can make whatever size you like, but I am making the car seat size, which is the smallest size blanket. This video is part of a series, and this is the 5th video so far in the series. So if you want to go back and watch the first 4, it's all in a playlist series called Knit Along, Knit This Baby Blanket with Me. So I am about halfway done the baby blanket that I'm knitting. This is it so far. I'm in the middle of a row because I just finished off a ball of yarn and I'm about to start a new ball in the middle of the row. But before I keep going, I'd really like to just measure how long the blanket is so I can get a sense of how far I am and how far I still need to go. So I'm just gonna lay my blanket out as flat as I can. It's a little bit hard when you're in the middle of a row, but so be it. Here we are. It doesn't have to be a perfect measurement. Now, since I'm knitting the car seat size, sorry, my pattern's got a little dirty. That just is sort of what happens. It's 20 inches wide by 24 inches long. So let's see how far I am here. Okay, so I'm going to take the edge of my measuring tape to the edge of the blanket and go right up to where the needles are, about 15 3/4 inches. Okay, so about 2/3 of the way there. And I've used 1 ball of yarn so far, so I'm probably going to use another half ball of yarn, which is good. It's always good to have more yarn than you need than to run out when you've got like 5 rows left. That really sucks. Okay, so I am in the middle of probably one of the even numbered wrong side rows. So I've done purl 5, knit 1, and I'm about to do another set of purl 5. So it's always nice to do it between 2 stitches that are the same. You'll probably see when you weave in your ends that it's a little bit easier that way. Just zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so here I go. I'm going to do 2 purls. 1, 2. Okay, now I'm going to let my old ball of yarn just kind of hang down. Set that there for a sec. And I grab my new ball of yarn. Okay, now this is the tail. This is the very end. I'm going to wrap the yarn so that the end, the tail end, is on the right. That's this end, the tail. And the new yarn that's connected to the rest of the ball is on the left. So like this. Okay, and then purl. And then continuing, making sure I'm grabbing the yarn that's connected to the ball and not the tail. If you do that, you're going to have to take it back a few stitches and do it again. Okay, so that I've knit 2 purls. I'm going to do my 5th purl and knit. Then purl 5 again. And knit 1. And then I'll keep going across my row, following all the directions for the wrong side rows. And once you've added on the new ball of yarn, you end up with these 2 tails. And at the end, when you're all finished the blanket, you'll weave these in. It's through a process that we called weaving in your ends. So that's both the ends of the yarn that are like in the middle of your work, but then also the tail that you end up with when you cast on at the beginning. We weave them all into the work. So we'll come back and we'll do that at the very end of the blanket. So just one little tip that we might find helpful, since you are knitting to the last 9 stitches pretty much every row, if you're finding that you're knitting past where you're supposed to be knitting and you have to come back because you're like, oh shoot, you can use one of these little safety pin knitting markers, or any knitting marker really, and just pop it in place when there's 9 stitches left, and do that on both ends. and then you won't miss it. That marker's there to remind you, okay, now it's time to stop your pattern and do the last 9 stitches. Another thing that you might find really helpful is being able to look at your work and figure out where the knit stitches are and where the purl stitches are. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this blanket a little bit closer to the camera. Okay, and so you'll see a bunch of V's, those are your knit stitches, and then the U's are your purl stitches. Okay, so you can kind of see the pattern here is stockinette for 4 stitches here, and then in this column here that separates your stockinette squares, it's hard to see, but it's a seed stitch. So where's my needle? Here, I'll use this pen. So you've got purl stitch, purl stitch, purl stitch, purl stitch in like a zigzag. And between the purls are knits. So you got purl, knit, and beside each purl is a knit. So it's like kind of zigzagging its way up. That's seed stitch when you have like a knit and purl in a grid like pattern like that every other. Then here is stockinette stitch where you've got your knits on your one side and it's kind of just all knits. And then on the reverse, it's purls. And then we break up these stockinette squares with a row of, I guess, garter stitch or just like a random row of purls to kind of break it into squares. So that's the entire pattern of the blanket. It looks really cool once you kind of get going and you can see it. I find it kind of motivating once I get the pattern going and I can actually see it. It actually like starts to look like a blanket and it's just so satisfying. Okay, so now let's just quickly talk for a second about counting rows because unless you're marking on your pattern what row you're on in the series of 8, it might be easy to lose track and be like, shoot, did I just finish row 5 or was that row 7? Like, I'm not sure which row to do next. So here, let's take a look. It's easier once you've done your first row 8 to see to be able to count the rows. Okay, so I've got this bump here and then the loop above it. That's row 8. Okay, so from there I can count my rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and now 7 is the bumpy part. I know that might be counterintuitive, but trust me, it is. And then 8, because when you're doing this stitch on row 8, you're pulling it through the opposite side of row 7. Okay, so now let's go back up to my work and figure out where I am in the series of rows. Okay, so let's see. If this was row 8, I'm on row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This here is a stitch from row 6. I've completed 6 rows. Now, if that's true, I should be on the right side of my work. So let's check. Perfect. I'm about to knit the right side, which is an odd row, row 7. I'm about to knit row 7, which means I've just finished row 6. So that's your little tip for counting your rows so you can figure out where you're at in the pattern. Okay, so now that I've cast on my new ball of yarn and I'm ready to do row 7 in the series, I'm going to keep going until my blanket is about 1 or 2 inches shorter than 24 inches. So until it's say like 22, somewhere between 22 and 23 inches. And I'm actually going to stop after row 6 in the series. So when it's at 22 inches, I'm going to keep going till I finished row 6. So that's your homework, is to keep knitting until your blanket is 1 or 2 inches shorter than you want your final length to be, which for me, my final length for a car seat size blanket is 24 inches. So again, I'm going to knit to 22 inches and then stop. And then we'll come back and we'll finish off the blanket together.